Hey guys, this is the Unsmooth Criminal, and the only original idea in this video, because all the rest of them are currently not being used in either tropes in anime or other kind of shows, but the only original idea is moonshine. Not the name, because that's a liquor that is illegal in some states, because I'm currently in America, but it's the ability that moonshine gives you. The higher the moon is, or the later it is at night, the faster you are. So once it hits 12:01 in the morning, it starts slowing you down. Okay, so that's it. So we start off with a little girl and her being put into a cargo container, and she was just taken from her home and put in a cargo container and just locked in there by these men, and officially she is dead, but literally she's alive and breathing and being raped and tortured by these men. And one day at night, one of these men are like, I want to play with the little freaking wolf we have. And so he opens up the cargo container, and her left eye is glowing. No, her right eye is glowing blue. I'm switching the eyes. Her right eye is glowing blue, and he sees this and like, what the hell are you? And she's gone. It was close to 11:50ish at night, and they're like a mile or so off the shore of Japan, because they're going over to. So they went through the canal, the canal that separates North America from South America, and they're trying to get to Africa. They're currently like roughly a mile off the coast of Japan, and they see the Japan lights, and her getting out of the cargo container at blinding speeds. But since she's has mostly everything dark, the only thing that is shining is the uh, eye, and she looks around, and she's at the top of the um, smokestack, because this is I think it's cargo ship that has a smokestack. So she gets to the top of the smokestack and is hanging off by the very little strength she has right now, and she sees the lights of Japan, and she's like, if I run for it, I can make it. So she jumps off and lands in the water, and then she starts swimming. And she starts swimming so fast that she starts running on the water. She starts treading water, and she starts treading water so fast that she starts running. And when she starts running, she goes up to the top of the water, and she's just there. And she gets to the sand and immediately falls and is rolling on the dirt. And there was a villain attack at the beach, and they're just cleaning up, and this is a beach full of just a bunch of trash, and she ran onto the beach and fell, and because she tripped on a piece of trash, and she went flying into a giant pile of trash. And so the people on the boat look over and see him with the door open. They're like, God damn it, shut the door. And he walks out being like, where is she? She's not even there. And they all look at him going, no shit, Sherlock, we have a rule. Only use her at dawn and dusk. He goes, oh, why? And he's drunk currently. And like, her speed increases at night and her strength increases during the day, dumbass. And he goes, oh. And he falls down, passing out. And the rest of the crews are like, dumbass. She could have fetched a good profit in Africa. And she's currently at Badigaba Beach, and she's just passed out in a pile of trash. And she's currently bleeding out of multiple places on her body, and this hero heard this basically smash of trash, and he runs over and he sees this little girl with a glowing blue eye just passing out. He's like, "Who are you?" And she doesn't know Japanese, and she's like, "Help me," in her native language. And yes, she's going to be from Florida. Sorry, but she's going to be from Florida. And they're like, "What? I don't understand what she's saying." So this man picks her up and starts to move her. And he sees that some of her limbs are swinging freely, and not in a good way freely. And he's like, "Oh crap." So he puts her down gently and calls an ambulance, and an ambulance, which was right next to him, or like a few blocks down, comes rushing over, and he says, "This girl is in pain, and I don't know her language, so I'm going to call Nezu." And everybody in the entire country knows who Nezu is, because he's a friggin' test subject, and he's a friggin' animal with a quirk. And they go, "Okay, All Might." And she heard that name, All Might, and she's like, what? And All Might has been in Japan his entire life. He hasn't left. He didn't go to America to continue his hero studies. He did meet David Shield, but David Shield came to UA to learn in the support course. So that's how they met. So David Shield brought over the news of a really strong hero, and that he is going to be so strong that he will be the symbol of peace. And so that's how America knew about him. And his name in Japanese and American is still All Might. So she heard that name, was like, ugh. And she stirs a tiny bit, and they're like, "Okay, so she is still alive. We need to get her to the hospital quickly." So they bring out the stretcher. They put her in the back of the ambulance. God damn it. Ambulance. They put her on the back of the ambulance, and they drive her to the hospital. And her clothes are ripped. She has white crusty stuff all over her clothes. She looks like she's a few months pregnant, and yes, she is currently roughly 9, 10. The biological age for maturity for females is 6, 7, 8, roughly there. And she looks like she's a few months pregnant, and they're like, what has she been through? And so Nezu is called by All Might, and he's to stay near her till she wakes up and try to find out what language she's speaking. A week later, she's finally healed enough that she actually wakes up from her coma, and she sees a little mouse by her side, and she freaks out because females in America don't like mice. Well, females in pretty much any culture don't like mice. I think there's one culture that do. I don't know. I don't know every culture in the world. But females in America don't like mice, and she jolts back a little, and then sees it's a above average mouse, and she goes, "What are you?" And he goes, "Okay, so she's speaking English." And he starts speaking English with a Japanese accent, and he says, "My name is Nezu. I'm the principal of UA, and I'm here as your translator." And her hearing UA goes, "I'm in Japan?" And she jolts up out of bed a little, and he goes, "Oh, whoa, whoa, easy, easy, easy. Um, yes, you are in Japan, and you're currently very, very weak from, we don't know where you came from." And she looks down and says, "My entire city was attacked by a villain." And he goes, how long ago?" And she goes, I don't know. My quirk works by the day-night cycles, so I counted, I think I got speed. maybe 90-ish times. And he looks at her and goes, "What is your name?" And she goes, "Jessica." And he goes, "Okay, Jessica, where do you live?" And she goes, I I lived in Florida." And he goes, "Damn, what the hell did they do to her?" And at this point, Nezu is trying to hold back his anger because he sees this little girl who's been abused for a few months, and he doesn't know what she was doing on the beach. And so he gets onto the topic of, "What were you doing on the beach?" And she says, "I ran away from the kidnappers because of my speed at night." And he goes, "Okay, what is your quirk?" And she says that I kind of have a half and half quirk. When it's daylight, I'm in the sunlight, I get this quirk called sunshine. And he goes, "Okay, what about the night cycle?" And she said that you get speed from that. And she goes, "Yes, it's the complete opposite of sunshine. It's moonshine or lunar shine, whatever you want to call it." No, lunar drip. Nah, that's too cheesy. Moonshine. And he goes, "Okay, so what does that do?" And she says, "All the way up until 12:01 at night, I get speed increases. Once I hit 12:01, I start losing speed." And he goes, "Okay, and what about daytime?" And she goes, "That's more of a dangerous quirk. If I'm in the sun at 12:01, from 12 to 12:01, everything within a mile of me is molten." And he goes, "Okay." So he tells it's currently 9 o'clock in the morning, and since she was asleep, her quirk never activated. So he calls in one of the doctors and says that she needs to be moved into a isolated room that is away from a source of sunlight. And he goes, "The only room we have that do that is the ICU. We can't do that because we need to have ICU open." And he goes, "Okay, so you want the entire freaking town to be boiled alive in molten magma?" And he goes, "Oh, no, 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 sir." And he goes, "That's what our quirk can do. Now get on to moving her to the ICU." And he goes, "Yes, sir." And she heard him raise his voice, and she goes, "Is everything okay?" And he goes, "Yes, everything is fine. You're about to be moved to a room so you don't get hit by sunlight and at any time of the day. So you can easily work on your quirk." And she goes, "Okay, when I was at my house, I had a item that I called a sacred treasure, and it was called Rita. It's a golden crested axe, and it helped me with my quirk. It absorbed the heat that I produced from my quirk as long as I had it on me. But the downside is I can only lift it during the day." And he goes, "Okay, I understand. I'll go look on the internet and have a search team go through the town that was attacked to uh, see where it is." And she goes, "Thank you. And there's also another downside to my moonshine quirk." And he goes, "What is it?" And she goes, "If there's any electronics hooked up to me, I could fry them with the kinetic energy I produce by moving." And he goes, "Oh, the static electricity I produce from the friction while moving." And he goes, "Okay, I will make sure that no electronics are hooked up to you while you're here at night." And she goes, "It's normally not a problem because I'm asleep during night." And he goes, "Okay, I understand." And so after a few days of them talking and understanding each other, Nezu finally finds this axe named Rita. And it's online, and it's it broadcasted as the world's heaviest object. Whoever can lift it gets it. And he goes, no. And he brings up the phone and shows her, and she goes, yeah, that's it. And he goes, so there's a problem. And she goes, I know. Nothing can lift it. Not even machines. And he goes, yeah. And she goes, there's a myth about a hammer named Mjolnir that can't be lifted by anything except the ones worthy. And he goes, yeah, I know that myth. And she goes, that's basically the effect that Rita has. It's so heavy that nobody except for me can lift it. And other people who have sunshine as a quirk. And he goes, okay, I understand. We'll get a plane to take you there as fast as possible. And she goes, okay, thank you. So a month later, a jet fighter, a United States jet fighter, not a United States, I think it's European and United States fighter that has no weaponry on it, and it's just for low altitude flights, arrives in Japan. Because Nezu has connections all the way up to the top of every government. And he asks to help with a global crisis that if this quirk gets out of hand, it could ruin every economy and everybody in the globe. And he said this to the commanding officers of these branches of research and development, and they said, sure, what do you need? And he goes, I need your fastest plane that can get somebody from point A to point B before dawn breaks. And he goes, and they go, we have a plane that takes 2 hours to get into the air, but once it takes an hour to fly, and they can paratrooper down any unit that we call for. And he goes, okay, so we have a pregnant girl that's around the age 9 to 10, and she needs to get to Florida. Where did you live? And she goes, Miami. And he goes, Miami, Florida, as fast as possible. And she cannot go during the day. And he goes, I'm sorry. And he goes, her quirk, if she's touched by sunlight, the area around her starts to heat up. And the item that we're going for her to pick up is the only thing that calms this heat down. And this man hears this and goes, so how hot does it get around her? And Nezu says, enough to make the people around her become molten. And he goes, oh, okay. So a week later, and this is still going to be the backstory, a week later, she is loaded. Well, she's still pregnant, by the way. She's 2 months and a few weeks pregnant. And so they get to the airstrip, and she's in a wheelchair, and she's still very anemic with this, the effects of the cargo ship, but she's gotten a lot more meat on her bones, and so this pilot sees her and is like, so I literally have to transport a pregnant woman. And she's like, yes, you do. And if you have a problem with that, I could beat your ass right here and right now with my speed. And he's like, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with transporting a pregnant child. And she looks at him and she gives him a death stare because her maternal instincts are kicking in because her daughter or her child is being threatened. And as he says, if you don't like your job, I can get you fired. And he goes, I know what the job is. I don't like it, but I will do it, and I will not complain about it anymore. And he goes, okay. And they see a professional paratrooper that has a halo jumped before with a pregnant woman to save her life from a war zone, and he was discharged from the military with a Purple Heart because he lost a leg. And he walks up with a cane and a crutch, and he says, "So who am I parajumping with?" And this man sees him and is like, "Oh my God, it's been a long time, dude." And they start talking, and they catch up a little, and they see this girl, and he goes, "So I have to paratrooper her out of the or halo jump her out of the plane." And Nezu says yes, because if her quirk gets out of control, we can't stop it. And he goes, "So I have to halo jump her all the way to an axe that is currently embedded in rubble." And she goes, "Yeah, um, but the good thing is, once I grab the axe, you don't have to carry me anymore, because I can use my quirk all I want while I have my axe." And he goes, "Okay, question." And she goes, "What?" And he goes, "Is the axe dull or sharp?" And she goes, "Well, it currently has the sheath on it, so it's dull. But once I take the sheath off, it's sharp enough to cut any metal and any item in existence." And he goes, "Okay, that's all the questions I have. So let's go." And he puts his crutch on the side of the ladder and says, "Oh yeah, can you put that away for me?" And one of the people are like, "Sure." And so they get ready to go, and she's like, "Wait, 3, 2, 1," and her eye stops glowing. And she's like, "The timer's on now." And she asks for help into the a fighter, or not the fighter, the jet, and they help her in, and she sits on the chair and starts getting the equipment on. She gets the equipment on, and he's like, "I'm doing the checklist." And she goes, "If you don't hurry with the checklist, I'm going to start melting this in 3 hours and 3 minutes." And he goes, "Okay, so we have 2 minutes to get the checklist done, and we have to get up in the air within 5 minutes. Got it." And she's like, "Okay, that's a little fast, but sure." And so this guy goes through the checklist really quickly, and it's surprisingly quick, because he didn't want to do this. But when he's in the plane, he takes his job very seriously. So he gets up in the air, and he starts getting higher and higher in the air, and he finally gets to the point where he says, "Oxygen masks on." And so they put all the guy with the missing leg puts the oxygen mask on Jessica, and Jessica is just like, "What's going on?" And he goes, "If you don't put this on, you're going to lose oxygen and pass out from high altitude sickness, and you could die from it." And she goes, "Oh, okay." So she puts on the mask, and so this halo jumper is holding a watch, and this watch is meant for outer space, so it's pressurized, and no, yeah, it's pressurized, and it's meant for a zero pressure environment, or zero oxygen environment. So he's just watching the watch, and watching the horizon, and watching the watch, and he's just watching it and watching it and watching it, and it's currently dusk. It's not dawn in America, it's dusk in America. And she Halo jumps down and with him, and she goes to the axe and touches the axe. And she lifts it over her shoulder, and she goes, "Okay, I'm ready to go back." And he goes, "What are you doing?" And she's currently strapping on the sheath, and she goes, "Give me 1 minute." And she does it quickly and goes, "I need to grab something from this rubble real quick, and then we can go back to Japan." And he goes, "We got to wait 24 hours before we can get back." And she goes, "I'm not saying that we take the plane again." "You're crazy if you think we're taking the plane again." And he goes, "What?" And she goes, "Once it hits midnight in America, and the moon's currently going towards the peak." And she goes, "Sorry, 11:30ish." And he goes, yeah. And she goes, well, I can run on water at that point. And I run so fast that I run on water, and I can run from here to Japan within a few seconds. And he goes, okay. And she goes, since it's not day yet in Japan, it's barely even night here, I'm going to be running that way. And he goes, why that way? And she goes, we need to keep under nightfall. And he goes, oh, okay. And she says, I want Wendy's. Wendy's is a burger place in America. If it's not in France or any uh, European areas, it's a burger place in America, or a fast food restaurant, whatever you want to call it. And so she put the axe on, and she walks over to the Wendy, or she picks him up and runs over to the Wendy's that's currently across town. And this town is completely obliterated. It's on like a freeway stop area. And she ran over, and the people who were there have talked to her multiple times because she was a mail carrier from one city to another while she was little. And she always stopped there for a Big Mac. Not a Big Mac. Damn it. A bacon... a bacon burger. Yeah, a bacon burger from Wendy's. And they see her come in, and they see her carrying her axe, and they're like, where were you? We missed you the last 3 months. She goes, you know the town that got attacked a few months ago? And she goes, yeah. They go, yeah. And she goes, I was there. And they go, oh my God, we're so sorry. And she goes, yeah. And they see she's pregnant. She goes, what the hell happened? And they all run from the back of the store, and people are in line, and some of these people are regular customers, and they know who she is, and they're talking to her, and she's getting a little uncomfortable because everybody's talking to her. And she's like, I just came here for a bacon burger, and I'm going to leave. And they're like, oh, right on it. And she goes, how much for... Oh, crap, I don't have any money this time. And she looks at the guy that she just set down after she ran into the store. And they're like, don't worry, it's on the house this time. And she's like, no, I have to pay you guys. And the one-legged guy goes, I really wish I had my cane. And he's currently sitting at a booth, and they're like, no. 2 bacon burgers for you and him, and it's on the house. And the next time, you pay double. And she goes, make that triple. And they go, okay, the next time you come over and we see you, it's triple. And she goes, okay, I agree. And so they bring out the burgers, and people are finally leaving her alone. And she was beloved by everybody in the town, everybody in the towns that she worked at. And she was a mail carrier at night and a bouncer during the day. She was a bouncer for a very prestigious hotel that is called the Continental, and everybody knows the Continental as, you do business on the Continental ground, you're excommunicado. If anybody knows that reference, put it in the comments. And you get 10 billion points that do absolutely nothing. And the owner of this hotel hears that she's back from a very, very sneaky person. And this man, who has told the owner, walked up to her while she was getting ready to go to the next town over for a few minutes, and then the next town over, and so on until it's almost dawn, or not almost dawn, till it's almost after 12:01, so she can run on water and get over to Hawaii. And this man shows up to her, and he goes, long time no see. And she goes, hi, Wick. You break the rules again? And he goes, no, I didn't. Ever since I destroyed the high table, I haven't broken the rules. And she goes, yeah, and I'm still mad at you because the high table was my parents'. And he goes, I know. And he goes, hey, they messed with me first. And she goes, I know the rules. And the one-legged veteran knows who Wick is because he was from a crime family, but he went into the military because he didn't want to be in that family anymore. And he goes, hello? And she goes, oh, Wick, he's safe. And John goes, oh, hello, my name's John. And he goes, hello, Baba Yaga. And she, hearing that, goes, so you know about what I am then? And he goes, yeah, I kind of do know your exploits as the acts of justice and the acts of the rules, or judge, jury, and executioner. Puns. And she goes, oh, damn it. And she's currently 10 at this point. And John goes, so when did they attack you? And she goes, at dawn. So I couldn't lift my axe. And he goes, but you're carrying it perfectly fine right now. And she goes, no, I'm not carrying it. It's on my back. If I was carrying it, it would be in my hand. I can't lift it when it's in my hand. But when it's on my back, it's perfectly carryable. And he goes, that makes no sense. And she goes, I know. Nothing in this world makes sense to me. Nor is my abilities. And he goes, true. And he goes, are you joining the high table again? And she goes, oh, hell no. And she looks over at this military person and says, if you tell Nezu anything about this, I am definitely ripping you limb from limb. And John looks at her and goes, you know you can stop with that attitude. And she goes, oh, hell no, I'm not stopping this attitude. This attitude is me and me alone. And this military man goes, so you're the executioner? And she goes, I don't like that name. Oh my God. And he goes, what would you be called then? And she goes, call me Moonlight. That will be my hero name. And John hears this, goes, the executioner, the one that scared me, is called Moonlight. And she goes, I will cut off another one of those fingers. And he goes, I did that to prove my loyalty to the high table, so I'd stop getting followed by every single assassin in the world. But since I'm still being hunted, I kind of have to go now. And I told him about you being here, and she goes, you did not. And he goes, yep, I'm sorry, by the way. And then she goes, oh my God, take your flexibility quirk and get out of here. And he goes, you know my flexibility quirk does not work at all, right? And she goes, yes, it does. Makes your mind more flexible than your body. And he goes, oh crap, I forgot about that part about the quirk. And she goes, he goes, well, and someone walks in and walks over to the table and is about to sit down. He goes, oh, I gotta go, and hopefully you can become your dream job. And he stands up to this person, looks up and goes, let's take this to the library real quick. And he just nods, being like, yeah, I don't want to deal with her. Because he looks at her and nods and being like, I see you. I understand your privacy, and I'll leave. And he looks at her and goes, the military person goes, so how old are you? And she goes, I've been doing this for 5 years, ever since I got my quirk fully unlocked. And he goes, so what are you? And she goes, I'm the simplest terms, a bouncer. And he goes, most complex terms. And she goes, courthouse, judge, jury, executioner, and jailer. And he goes, okay. And this man, who's nicely dressed, tuxedo, everything, walks in and sees her and walks over, sits in the booth, and everybody who knows him leaves the establishment immediately. Maybe like one or two people are still there, and it's the manager of the establishment and the assistant manager of the establishment, and they greet him, and he greets them, and they go, we will take our leave now, and they leave out. And she goes, I didn't want you to see me like this. And he goes, well, you are flesh and blood, aren't you? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, so what happened? And she goes, I was attacked by a villain named All for One. I'm going to go back to Japan, because he's currently in Japan, and kill him and then be a hero. But to be a hero, I need to stop talking to the people from the high table or under the table or anybody from this organization or line of work, because what happens in this line of work is not what a hero does. And he goes, I understand, and I still have the spot open if you're willing to come back. And she goes, I don't want to go back. I'm happy. I got a new life. And she starts yelling at him, being like, saying that this new life doesn't concern you. It will never concern you. Just because you're my grandfather on my mother's side does not mean you can just go into my life whenever you want. And she starts yelling at him even more, and the old man's like, fine. I understand. I'll leave you alone now. I just wanted to see how you're doing, and it looks like you were in a very rough situation. And she goes, yeah. I was kept in a cargo container without light and out food every other day. I was fed once every other day. And she explains what happens, and he's like, if I find out who stole you, I'm going to rip them limb from limb. And he shows a little bit of his quirk, and he shows that he has a berserk quirk. And the military man goes, excuse me, are you the owner of the Continental of this fine city? And he goes, that would be me. By the way, if you ever find who did that to her, call me and I'll give you a reward. And she goes, grandfather, stop. And it's currently close to 11:30 at night. And he sees the eye is glowing blue, and he goes, well, it looks like you guys got to leave. I will leave you guys alone so you finish eating and leave. So he leaves, gets in his limo and drives off. And in his limo, he calls up a hitman and says, I know your crew took her. Kill everybody and come to my Continental. Come to my Continental grounds. And he goes, sir, yes, sir. And off the shore of Japan, when they get back, it's roughly a day later, and they get back and they see on the news, boat found with entire crew murdered and a few cargo containers left wide open. Apparently had refugees from the Florida attack. And she goes, oh, God damn it. And he goes, are you okay? And she goes, yeah, I gotta act like I don't know Japanese anymore. And he goes, okay, so I'm supposed to keep it secret? And she goes, if you want your mouth intact, yeah. If you want to keep your tongue, yeah. If you want to keep your head on your shoulders, yeah. And she just keeps threatening him. If he talks, she would do increasingly more disgusting and brutal things to him. And he's like, fine, fine, fine. So she finally gets back to the hospital, and she has the axe on the side of her bed, and it's laying on the bed, and Nezu called All Might. And she goes, he's not going to be able to lift it. And Nezu goes, I understand. I just want to know if he will be able to. Damn, these are good. I'm drinking water with a flavoring piece from a company called Circle. Cirkul. Not sponsored, by the way. I wish I was. Oh my god, they're so good. But I use it every day. I don't drink normal water anymore. I only drink it when I have to. Yeah. But I use it every day. And so let's get back to the story. We are. So they're 2.5-ish months. So we skip 7.5 months to a girl, roughly 10 years old now, and she has contractions. And a few hours later, she has a little baby in her arms, and she's like, if this quirk is what I think it is, we're going to have a very big problem. And this man walks in saying, I'm here and I'm wondering if you would like me to adopt you so you can have a home here on Japanese soil. And he's speaking in Japanese, and Nezu's translating for him, and she says, yes, that would be great, thank you. And Nezu translates that into English, not English, into Japanese for this man to understand. And he says, my name is Shota Aizawa. And by this time, she's learned what the words for my name is and I am doing good, how about you, in Japanese. And Aizawa starts trying to teach her a little bit more, and she has the mindset of, I don't know Japanese, let me try and learn it again. And she learns really quickly. It's been a few days since she started, because she started after she had her child. And so a few months after, he gets out of the hospital because she's back to full strength from the birth and the torture on the cruise ship. And Aizawa asks her, because she's been learning really quickly, if she knows any combat skills, and she says that she does in her strength form, but in her speed form, she knows nothing about combat. And he goes, what's the difference? And she goes, well, I am a brawler when I'm in strength form. When I'm in speed form, I don't know any combat styles to benefit from my speed. And he goes, okay, I'll help you learn some. And he lives with a woman named Merlin. Her middle name is Merlin, but her first name... Hold on, give me a minute. Her first name is going to be Rainier. If anybody knows where that came from, 10 million points to do absolutely nothing. But, so, she gets along with Jessica really quickly, and Jessica is adopted by her and Aizawa, because they're currently married. And Merlin is a whiz when it comes to creating items for specific quirks. And she's known as the quirk manufacturer, because the items that she gives people are basically meant for only them. She gave Hawks a extra part of his wings, boost strength when he's flying with them. She gave Endeavor a change of mindset and a basically pistol to increase the pressure of his lasers, because he does have lasers before the high-ranking Nomu. So we go to a few months after Jessica moved in, and her little baby is growing up well because her baby's being fed. Her baby looks... She had a boy, and I'll be right back. Her child will look like this. And Merlin used one of her gadgets and gave it to Aizawa to look at Jessica when she's in night mode, because when she's in night mode, pretty much no one can see her because she's trying to stay in the darkness. But she looks like this at night mode. But when she's in day mode, she looks like this. Her hair changes to white. Her eyes stay the same, with the right being blue and the left being gold. But her hair changes to white. Her colors invert. And her fangs get a little longer. So we skip to her baby's growing white hair, and he has a inverse of her quirk. So when it's night, he gets colder and stronger. Like, it's harder to hurt him, stronger, not the strength as in I can punch through 10 brick walls in one punch. Strong. And during the day, his body temperature rises, but the air around him stays the same. And he gets faster and faster. Now, he physically doesn't get faster and faster. Yeah, he gets physically faster and faster, like she does at night. That's what his quirk will be. Sunlight and... So it's moonlight for her and sunlight for him. Moonshine for him and sunshine for her. So that will work better. And she's now at the point of 3 years away from going to UA early. And so she walks into school one day, and she's freaking out because she's not near her kid, because she's been homeschooled the last few years. And so she made a deal with Merlin and Aizawa to call and see an image of her child while she's at school at lunch. And the teachers know if she starts having a panic attack, call Aizawa and get him to show a picture of her child to her so she can calm down. And they also know, don't take away the axe unless you want the entire school to melt. So everybody's asking, why does she have an axe? Is she a villain? And the teacher's like, leave her alone. She has a special condition with her quirk that will harm everybody around her if she doesn't have that axe. So leave her alone. And everybody's getting scared of her, and Bakugo's like, whatever. And she sees Bakugo not caring about her carrying an axe, and so she goes to the roof at lunch, and she calls Aizawa, and she's in a shady spot, so she doesn't get direct sunlight. And Aizawa answers the phone and shows the image of her child, and she starts acting like a mother to the child. And Aizawa, hearing this, like, oh my god, she's going to be a great mother later in life, too. And so Bakugo, who's currently basically shadowing her to see if she is a villain or not, because he thinks that she looks good, but he doesn't know that. It's just subconsciously. And he hears her talking to this little kid, and it's like, what? And he's confused, so he waits for the call to be over, and he opens the door like he just got there. And he's like, damn extras. And she looks over and she goes, oh, it's just the angry Pomeranian. He goes, what you say? Extra? And she goes, exactly what I said. You're an angry Pomeranian. And she just walks off. And he goes, whatever. And there's a kid in school that her name is Mei Hatsume, and she's been every lunch going to a specific part of the playground or the quad, and just sitting there and starting to mess with little gadgets. And every once in a while, there's a poof of smoke where she is. And eventually, Jessica walks up to Mei and asks what's her name. And Mei says her name is Mei Hatsume, and she's going to be a support corps student for UA. And they start bonding because Jessica's gotten used to the intelligence and the ingenuity of support corps students and support corps people. And she starts bonding with Mei, and Mei bonds with her, so Mei thinks of her as a friend. A very, very close friend. So you guys have a choice when I finish this video. You can either have Bakugo, because Todoroki's going to be female in this one, Femme Todoroki, Mei, or Kirishima. You have those choices. I'll put them in the comments. So, another year passes, and everybody is going upon their business, and Jessica doesn't show up to school for one day. And they're all curious of why. And Jessica, who fell asleep on a bench that's outside their house, wakes up in a abandoned building. And she sees a little light beam on the floor, and she's like, where am I? And the axe is still on her. And she sees this light beam is on the floor, and she goes, okay, so I can't move. And she looks around, and nothing is seen, and this man from the shadows walks out. And he's just barely in the light beam with one of his hands, and he's waving his hand and talking to her, and he says that you are the last piece of the puzzle to get a God quirk. And she goes, what the hell's a God quirk? And he goes, a God quirk is a quirk that has been combined to make me a god. And he touches her, and his hand's still in the sun, by the way. And he touches her, and his hand starts to boil. And she starts to laugh. And she has had this quirk for so long that she is used to the heat. She could jump in a volcano without the quirk and survive. That's how used to the heat she is. And he picked the quirk up, and it's currently 10ish in the morning, and she's like, I suggest you give me my axe, and you give me my quirk back before you die of it, and it comes back to me automatically, and I break out of these and melt this entire city. And he goes, whatever. And he goes and grabs the axe, and he can't lift it. And his hand is still boiling, but when he grabbed the axe, his entire body started boiling. And he started to scream, and he started to roll around on the ground because he's combusted into flames. And this one of the heroes, hearing the screams, rips open one of the doors to the building and feels this giant wave of heat rush out. And Jessica sees the door open and says, "Shut the goddamn door!" And she yelled this, and the hero, hearing this voice and seeing this wolf girl and getting a rundown from Nezu about her quirk, be like, "Okay." So he slams the door shut, and he runs over to one of the windows that's currently slightly open and shuts it, and there's still just a tiny, very small bit of light coming in, and her eyes adjust, and she sees that he's still burning. His skin's still boiling, his clothes have all burnt off, and he's still burning on the ground. And he stops moving, and it looks like he died. And she feels the strength, and she rips out of the bonds and runs over to her axe and grabs it. And she walks over to him and goes, "Well, I feel bad for you." And she uses something that she never told anybody about, not even her closest of friends. She made a miniature sun. And she just pushed it towards him, and he melted and evaporated. And she put the sun away, or grabbed the sun, and it poofed into nothingness. And she basically put the axe back on, and she yelled out to the guy, "It's safe now. It might be a little hot in here, though." And he opens, and a giant wave of heat comes rushing out. And it was currently roughly midwinter, so there's a little bit of snow on the ground. And when the heat wave came out, it made all the snow on the building evaporate. And he goes, "Oh my God, what kind of quirk does she have? I knew she had a quirk that made everything heat up, but Jesus Christ." And I don't think he actually would say Jesus Christ. This is Japanese, but I'm saying this in American, so this is in Japan, so I don't know what he would say. But she goes, "Okay, yeah, the guy that you saw catch on fire was an idiot and took my axe away from me. So he died from the heat of my quirk, and I don't suggest you go in there." And she's currently still holding her axe, and it's over her shoulder, and she has the sheath on it, so it looks like the axe is dull by default. And he goes, "Okay." And he looks at her suspiciously, and she goes, "I'm sorry about this, but you saw me do something very bad, and I don't want this on my record." And nobody else is around her, so she puts the axe in front of her, and she grabs the blade. And he goes, what are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm sorry. I don't want you to be a witness." And he goes, "Witness to what? All I saw was a bright light, and then it went away." And she goes, "Exactly, you're a witness." And she pulls off the edge of the axe, and it shows the sharpest blade in the world. And he goes, "Oh crap." And she just lifts the axe up and says, "I pity you." And he goes, "Why do you pity me?" And she goes, "It's not the villains and the fake heroes that I was born into their world. They were born into mine." And she just drops the axe, and she just quoted some Escanor. Hold on, let me get the actual quote. And she says, "I apologize to you, pitiful heroes and villains, that you were born in my world and not that I was born in yours." And she goes upon her day like a normal teenager running away from the scene of the crime. And she also melted him, and nobody was around to see her do the melting of the hero, so no one knew that she could do it. And so later she walks up to the school and finally gets into school and says that a villain captured me and that I only got away because he took my axe away. And the teacher's getting a fill-in of what her quirk is, goes, oh, okay, here's everything you missed, and you'll need to do it by tomorrow. She goes, okay. So we skip to when she is 14, about to turn 15, and it's the last day of school. Oh, middle school, at least. And she's talking to Bakugo and Mei Hatsume, because Bakugo's chilled out a little, because he's fought her once and found that if he fights her during the day, she is going to easily kick him in the butt. So she's friends with Bakugo because she chilled him out, and she's friends with Mei because Mei wanted to learn how the axe was made and the now gauntlets that she uses. And they're not heavy gauntlets, they're really light gauntlets that will only fit her hands. Because she stopped growing at 5'5" 2 years ago. So she's a little shorter. I don't know if she's canon Izuku's height, but she's a little shorter than an average woman in America. And she asks them, are you guys going to UA? And Mei goes, yeah, I'm going to the support course. And Baku goes, obviously, I'm going to the hero course. And she goes, oh, I don't think they allow angry Pomeranians. And Mei starts to giggle at this, and Baku goes, whatever. Damn wolf. She goes, yeah, I'm a wolf. He goes, oh my god. Oh crap. And she says, Bakugo, you want to play the game again? And he goes, no, no, hell no. And she goes, aw, but it was fun. And he goes, for who, you or me? And she goes, I thought it was fun for both. And he goes, it's only fun at dawn and dusk. She goes, it's not fun at that time, it's fun any other time. And they start arguing about when the game is fun. If anybody knows what the game is, you guys put in the comments. Because Escanor played it with the armored dude from the Ten Commandments. I forget his name. So she's like, fine. See you guys later. So Jessica walks back to her home, which is with Aizawa and Merlin, and she walks in and sees that Merlin is in her workshop and her little baby is watching Merlin work from outside the workshop. And she walks up to him and, or did I say she had a boy or a girl? Hmm. I'll let you guys decide. If I said the gender, scratch that. You guys decide if Jessica's child is a male or a female. But her child still has the white hair. So her child is currently watching Merlin do her work, and the child is so fixed on her work that Jessica walks up behind her and picks her child up, walks up behind her child and picks it up and starts hugging it, and the child freaks out, being like, what, who, huh? And Merlin starts laughing because she noticed Jessica right away. Oh, I got an alarm soon. And the child goes, "Seriously, Mom?" And Jessica goes, "What? It was funny." And the child goes, "It's not that funny." And the child at this point is 3, 4, about to get their quirk. And Aizawa says, "I will take you guys to get your quirks reevaluated to make sure that they're not anything different." And Jessica goes, okay. And hi, Leo. My cat, Leo. So, I have a chore for you. And it's going to be the gender and the name for Jessica's child. If you guys, I'll put a female one and a male one, a comment on this video, and I'll also put a comment with the ship. Whichever one gets the most upvotes, I will pin to the top of the comments. And whichever one I pin will be the gender of the child, and then you guys have to come up with a name. Or you guys can give me a suggestion in the Discord that I'm going to also link in the description of this, so you guys can talk to me directly through Discord. And Sunday, which is a few days from now, which is in 2 days from now, from 48 hours from now, from the time I'm recording this video, I'm going to be live on Discord for the first 10 people that join the call. I'll chat with personally. I'll chat with for up to max of an hour, and then I'll close down the call and then reopen it so 10 other people can join. So if you guys want to talk to me personally and get to know me and understand what I'm doing and maybe help with a what if at one point, you guys can. But I'm going to end it here. So Jessica is just getting home. She just scared her child. And Merlin is like a grandmother to the child. And Aizawa is like a grandfather to the child. And Jessica has been adapting really well to the motherly instinct that she has to the child. So, a comment that gets the most upvotes within, or the most likes within, 24 hours of this video going live will be the gender and the name of the child. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Oh, bye.